Good morning and welcome to this Deloitte Grab and Go on the art of the possible. And this is going to be a real fun-filled session with a lot of really interesting interactive demos. And my name is David Colgan. I'm heading up our SAP practice, so we're going to have SAP, let's call it powering the innovation. And together with me, I have my colleagues from App House, Deloitte App House in the UK, Will and Chris. And Will and Chris, would you just like to quickly introduce yourselves?
I'm Will Powell. I'm an innovation expert in our Deloitte App House, as David says, and really focusing on how we bring the kind of the edge innovation and new technologies to the SAP landscape.
Hi everyone, my name is Chris Choi. I'm a senior manager within our SAP Design Innovation team here in the UK. We're actually in our SAP App House today here in London. So yeah, really excited to delve into some of these topics today.
Great, thank you both. And yeah, it will be these guys who are bringing the innovation to life. So stay tuned for that. What we would also like you to do is, this is an interactive session, not only with the technology, but also with you, the audience. So true to form, we would ask you to interact with us all the way through. We will have a Slido here, so I would appreciate if you can take out your device or log on to Slido, input the code 1208453. You'll be both asked to interact with us on a poll, a survey, and also ask questions along the way. And you're also free to, if you like a question, to vote on it. And we promise we will answer the questions with the most votes at the end of the session. So please interact with us all the way through. You'll see the QR code again multiple times. So if you've missed it now, it will come up again when we need you to interact. So please, very much looking forward to a lot of good audience interaction. I think we're almost 200 people on the call. So let's hope for good good ping pong. So maybe just bringing the topic a little bit up into a macro perspective, and starting out with a global survey that we have made in Deloitte of why do companies innovate, why do they innovate and transform. We've asked 300 chief transformation officers what the primary reasons are for innovating and the primary drivers are for transformation. And there are a lot of them on the screen here, but we've chosen today to look inside the organization. So we've taken the bar around optimizing the business, which is 37% of chief transformation officers' primary reason for innovating. And the two top results for that are really powered by organizational innovation around making processes more efficient and exploring the opportunities available from digital technologies. And both of these really talk to the digital tech agenda. I suppose the angle that we're going to have on it today is we are going to be looking, I think many of you are familiar with how innovation impacts you as a customer on your phones or in the way you interact with many companies. Our focus today will be on the inside of the organization. So it will be on how to translate this into process efficiency for an organization. And in fact, in my own dealings with many large corporations, we are many times challenged to really translate that digital agenda to the inside of the organization, and especially also with let's call it the core business processes. So that's going to be the focus today. I hope it's, well, we'll spice it up a little bit. I think many of digital innovations are more user and customer centric. And this one will be, I hope will stimulate many of you who are working with some of these larger and more operational processes in companies. So one other angle on it, and that's so from the Chief Transformation Officer and into our own intellectual capital in Deloitte, every year we produce tech trends. I think many of you will be familiar with it, and many of you are on our mailing list to receive it. We have produced our tech trends for 2023. And you can also see here that we've highlighted some of the topics that we'll be touching today. Immersive internet, next-gen technologies, opening up to artificial intelligence and trusting artificial intelligence to actually to run the business as colleagues. And I suppose in the bottom here, we have also the business of technology around how we then harness the technology options to reimagine our tech workforce. So some of these, I mean, we won't necessarily answer them directly in this session, but these are the topics that we'll be trying to bring to life when we talk through how innovation impacts the inner side of the organization. And we will also, for those of you who have, I mean, you've all signed up for this, you will get links to where you can download these if they tickle your fancy. So with that, we're actually going to start to get a little bit interactive with you. So what we will do is I'd like to ask you, the audience, a question. And we're going to give you a bit of time to, again, log on to Slido with the QR code or logging directly on. We're going to ask you a question about your organization. And I know many of you come from different industries and different geographies, so just answer it as you feel best. But in which business process or business area do you see the most potential for using advanced digital technologies? It's a question I've been asked many times. But let's get a straw poll from you. And when we talk about advanced digital technologies, we've made a little word cloud. It doesn't need to be any of these. It's whatever you perceive as an advanced digital technology. But you know, we have machine learning and augmented reality and some of the stuff that we will actually be showing you today. So give us your best shot. You can choose a maximum of 3 areas, and I'm just going to explain what they are. The QR code will remain for those of you still struggling with that. So when we look at the inside of your business, this is a more inward-looking focus. So we've taken some of the classic core end-to-end business processes: order to cash, record to report, plan to deliver. Some of your companies don't have these processes, so just answer it as you see fit. And we've added a few other ones like facilities and real estate, and some of you have lead to agree processes. So whatever one makes most sense for your organization, you can answer up to 3, and we will give you a little bit of time to give us your insights before I switch over to the poll. We have a lot of people on, so I'm hoping we can get your interaction. It would be so good to see. I think we have 8 people who have voted. I don't think that's enough, so we'll get some more people on. Again, many of you joining have been asked this question or have produced business cases or working through actually implementing advanced digital technologies to power your business. So I'm sure there are a lot of good opinions in the group. We'll give you a little bit more time to answer. I hope Slido is not seen as an advanced digital technology. So let's see. We get to a more hygienic level. Yeah, the numbers are creeping up. I'll give you 30 seconds more. So please just take out your phone and vote on 3 that you see fit your organization best. And then I'll begin. Yeah, let's see if we can get above 20 respondents. Yeah, it's early morning, so I'll go easy on you. One more, and we will go over to the poll and see how it looks. I don't think we're statistically correct anymore. Otherwise, I'll vote myself. Yes, magic. 15. Let's have a quick look. Oh, wow. So we have a really, really interesting, at least one very interesting area. So what I would like to do actually here, you can see very clear results. Order to cash, 40%. Plan to deliver, 40%. Product development, really, really interesting to see that there. And procure to pay, and manage compliance. Oh, now that is, okay, this is live polls. This is great to see. Okay, so the numbers are changing a bit. Okay, but while the numbers are evolving, and you're more than welcome to continue voting on the screen, just over, maybe I can bring Will and Chris into the discussion here. At least from my own perspective, it's no big surprise to see order to cash, the customer-facing flows in companies in the highest position here. But there are some others here. Maybe Chris, can I maybe bring you into this? Are there any of these that meet your eye, and why?
Yeah, I think, as you said, seeing orders to cash there is no surprise. It's it's almost the lifeblood of our business, really, in terms of making sure we're getting cash collection in place and making sure that end-to-end experience is as seamless as possible for our customers. I think moving forward, obviously many organisations are striving to sort of, I suppose, streamline their processes in this area, and it does touch many different parts of the organisation. And I think normally what we see is the challenges around that can cause bottlenecks or friction points within that end-to-end process. But I think there are always opportunities, I think, to start seeing how we can apply the latest technologies really, and providing the right tools at the right points in time and the right information in order to really make that a bit more fluid and seamless, I would say. Data, of course, is a big piece that needs to feed into that, understanding lead times, understanding from our supply chains, how can we get accurate information to our frontline and to our sales teams from the get-go. And what we've done for many different clients in the past is actually looking at how can we extract that information for ERP? How do we ensure we can make the communications between the different teams internally as easy as possible, so that we can start to be a bit more proactive in terms of understanding demand, forecasting, and also how do we then start to ensure that our manufacturing and our capacities within our businesses are meeting at the right levels to meet those demands. And I think this is where some of the latest technologies we're going to talk about there a bit later on is going to see how we can start to become a little bit more aware, I suppose, of the market trends, but quicker, I suppose. So rather than doing the traditional research side, it's also looking at how can technologies such as AI start to I suppose capture and start to identify those macro changes in the economy that means we need to start changing. So yeah, Will, I don't know if you've got any more.
Well, we're seeing AI take out, help with a lot of the processes. So be it communication with suppliers or customers, we're looking at generative AI to help get people up to kind of have those first drafts, those templates that are personalized to the target audience. And what it's enabling is it's enabling people in those processes to be more efficient. It's kind of giving them superpowers that they can kind of oversee more communications that are more personal to more individual parties. So we're seeing a lot of AI and generative AI kind of make a difference across the process by enabling the people that are there to have more time, because it's taking off some of the heavy lifting for it. And one of the big things behind all that, which we'll talk about in some of the demos, is that it's making sure you've got your data in the correct structure, accessible, and the S4 side of things makes a lot of these processes to adopt those new technologies super simple.
Thank you both very much. So my own remark on this is actually it's the first time I've seen on such a poll that something like managed compliance has such a high vote. So that, for me, maybe it's a little further down in the rankings, but it actually jumps out off the page at me as something that we haven't seen an awful lot of advanced technologies taking over, but I think there's a lot of belief that will really take off, and that may be blockchain and other validations and other things like that. So it's really, really interesting to see it's not a full statistical sample, but it's interesting to see the compliance comes up so highly there. But actually, so I think what most of the audience are waiting for, and I think we should probably go directly to it, and maybe into the plan to deliver process. Chris, maybe you can talk us through the first use case for advanced technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing I just wanted to build on before we get into some of our case studies today and demos is, I think one thing to point out is that we need to be ensuring that we're leveraging our cloud capabilities in this space. So when we talk about innovation and driving efficiencies within our back office and core processes, what we're actually saying is that a lot of the best practices and industry standards will remain now and in the future, but it's more about how are we starting to innovate. We like to describe this as innovating on the edge, and what we mean by that is making sure that we are getting our data in our ERPs and in our different back office systems structured in the right way, so that we can easily start to use some of the latest technologies like machine learning, AI, analytics, RPA, automations, all of these things available in your preferred cloud platform of choice, then becomes possible and also easier to implement later down the line. So a lot of the examples we're going to talk today is going to be built on the SAP Business Technology Platform. Just as an example, it's obviously close to the S4 ERP side of things, but it doesn't limit us, right? Regardless of the platform or cloud platform that you have within your organizations, there are always opportunities to innovate in this area. So I'm going to talk a bit about today actually a warehouse management use case, which we implemented for one of our clients called Pladis. So Pladis are a British confectionery and biscuit manufacturer. They operate globally in over 120 different countries. And unfortunately today the space is a bit small to have a physical drone in the studio. So we prepared a quick demo video just to showcase how this all worked. Great. So as you saw there, clearly what we were trying to do is effectively look at Pladis's warehouse management processes here. Now, one of the issues they faced is that there was quite a lot of accuracy issues within the loads of warehouses globally. And this was just one example where we can use drone technologies and image recognition to really automate, I suppose, physically automate the process of performing stock counting. With the goal of reducing or increasing accuracy, whilst also reducing the amount of manual effort required, and also safeguarding some of the employees. Some of these pallets, as you can see, were quite high up, and doing it manually with laser scanners was quite a burden for Pladis. But as you saw in the demo, what it allows them to do is perform them more often, and therefore making sure we've got a good view of the bottom line and where we are, what position Pladis are in terms of stock. But also look at location, so using beacons and geolocation where certain products were stored within the physical space. So that's just one example where we've applied drone technology, image recognition, all using the cloud, all within BTP. It's all posting back into SAP S4 public cloud in this case. So using the standard APIs. Now, of course, we can only really look to leverage these types of technologies if our core is clean and we're using out-of-the-box capabilities from our ERP vendors. And you might also be thinking, this technology has been around for quite a while now. What else how can we sort of push the boundaries and start to use it in various different ways? So I'm going to hand over to Will now, who's actually going to show us where we can take this and what the potential is.
So I think stepping gears and stepping into a different demo that's in a slightly different area. What we thought we'd do is we'd take the same idea of machine learning and show you what's possible if we took a SAP BTP, so the Business Transformation Platform, the Fury for iOS SDK, and the kind of the SAP landscape that's behind it. And the application for this is actually started out with a Runway experience. So this is for fashion shows, but bear with me, we'll get to how this is relevant to those core processes that we were talking about. And what this application is designed for is someone in an audience of a fashion show who's watching their models or outfits walk down the runway and can see information by just pointing their camera at the model. And you saw it recognized who I was. And what it enables someone in the audience to do is to see who's there, kind of what items they're wearing. And what we're doing is we're bringing the best of the SAP world, which is the BTP, we're actually using the Commerce Cloud, and then we're bringing the best of our Deloitte's technology and delivering it all on a single mobile phone, talking up to BTP, to really try and change that overall experience. And by bringing these two together, what we're doing is we're bringing them into the kind of the SAP Plus space that Chris mentioned, or the App House and the Deloitte's kind of capabilities to really elevate and change the experience using AI and machine learning technology. And in that fashion show demo, it showed a picture of myself in the video feed, and it showed a notification above my head saying who I was. What we're able to do now is we're able to start looking across our business and across other AI and machine learning capabilities and the SAP landscape and see, well, what could we do? What's the art of the possible around bringing this technology? We've already got all the data available to us, we've got the power of the back end, we've got the clean core, we've got machine learning on the device, and we're all connected up. So now what we can do is we can actually look to say, well, rather than recognizing that there is someone in a shop, can we recognize where that person is and who they are? And so you see it's now recognizing me. It's showing that I'm where I am in frame, and it's actually providing a user a very contextual information about the runway or the fashion show. And from here, it's kind of, again, well, what else have we got available to us? So we've got all of the product information, we've got all of the images of the items that are for sale through Commerce Cloud. And it's like, well, okay, could we start to actually get it to recognize every item that someone's wearing in real time? And so now what we're doing is we're asking the phone BTP layer and then the core system of records to recognize every item that someone is wearing. And you can see it's even recognizing down to the watch that's on my wrist. And what we've done now is we've changed that experience that someone would have at a fashion show. We've made it so that someone could point their phone at the models on the catwalk and find out what items they're wearing. They could potentially then click through, purchase love-like items to actually gain kind of a real interactive immersive experience. And this solution has actually been rolled out at a number of fashion shows all over the world. And it's been really beneficial for designers because they've been able to understand what their audience like. We start to get the immediate obvious ones where we get, well, what items are people purchasing or love liking or tapping on. But we also get information and analytics that we can then process in SAP Analytics Cloud around how long they're looking at an item. And it's enabled these designers to actually change and transform their supply chain by being able to select the items that the audience have engaged with. And this is, we'll see this kind of rolling out across more fashion shows over the next coming years. But I mentioned right at the beginning of this that it was a case of, well, we want to relate this back to those processes and core internal capabilities that we were looking at the beginning. And what we can do with this technology now is we can apply it to other areas. So where it's recognizing a person, it's able to recognize what they're wearing. And wouldn't that be great if it can then talk to our S4 maintenance schedule, and it knows who needs to be turning up to perform which task and what they should be wearing to be able to do that. And so this is now using those exact same building blocks, KPIs, and integrations to actually understand who I am, recognise what I'm wearing, saying that I'm not compliant, which fortunately we always make sure that in our app house we have a high-vis jacket in case of emergencies, and this enables me to hopefully become compliant and actually submit my S4 work schedule, which there we go, recognise that I'm now I'm compliant, it's able to submit it, but it's able to do it now in a way that's much more intuitive to the end users. I haven't had to enter any information, we've just used the machine learning AI and integrations to essentially support all of that capability. So we see that this technology can really make a difference across different areas of business, and we can take it out of something that it was originally designed for. If we can just jump back to the slide. So we've kind of shown you being able to use an AI that was actually designed in a different sector for being able to recognise. It's actually able to assist with health and safety. It's able to perform tasks that it wasn't necessarily designed for, but we're able to apply that technology across the SAP stack. And it's all leveraging that clean core that Chris mentioned. It's leveraging BTP to do the integration and capabilities. And we're able to take this further into some of the other processes. So if we jump on to the desktop in the next slide. So one of the other areas is really understanding how we can take the technology again to another platform even. And the idea behind here is that we wanted to take that same idea and show you how we can build on it to help with some of the other processes. And in this example, I've taken the same technology that we showed you in the Runway, and we're going to apply it to AI cases around the enterprise. And for this demo, we've actually switched to now using a desktop that's looking at me. And it can do the same things that we saw in the Runway demo. It can recognize every item that I'm wearing. It's running the same BTP integrations, same talking to the back end underneath. But that doesn't really work for a desktop. And it's not necessarily, again, showing some of the other use cases that the application can recognize. So we thought what we'd do is we'd say, well, rather than recognizing what I'm wearing in this case, can it detect me and bring me into a world where we can bring in all of the SAP data, or the kind of the connected landscape around me. Maybe we could start looking at some of the products that we manufacture, or some of the processes around them. So I can ask the system to actually start a metaverse experience. I think it's one of those tech trends you saw that it was all around interactive. And what we can do is we can build a metaverse experience that will pull myself into a space that we can work with. And in this space, we've got essentially a camera looking at me, it's recognizing me. We've also got the machine listening to me. It's also looking for gestures, hand controls. So we can start bringing in and pulling in data into this space to work with. And so the first thing we can do is, well, let's say bring in one of the parts that we manufacture, or we look at the supply chain for. Can we look at one of the cogs that's part of our product? And so the application will now recognize that, it will able to pull that into the space, and we can see a digital twin of that product. And we can say, well, okay, what information do we have available about this item that we could surface? And this is now pulling into the BTP layer and then onto our S4 data sets. And so we can start to see that we've got suppliers, finance, materials, deliveries, all of that information available for us to work with. And so we can say, well, let's start looking at some of the delivery data. And we can start to, again, pull in some of that information that's coming from BTP to surface inside this digital environment. But what we've done so far really is we've only shown something that could be very kind of displayed on a 2D interface. Well, here we'll say, well, we can bring in the digital twin of the entire object that we manufacture. And in this case, that cog was part of a full vehicle. And we can start to see, now I've got a digital twin, we could start overlaying information, we could start seeing KPIs on top of the physical, the product. We can use this for product development, we can use this for sales, we can also use this, gain insight into how our business is running around this particular product. And so we can ask the application, say, okay, well, can you show me the sales figures for this particular vehicle? And it will pull in our sales KPIs again inside the space, but a three-dimensional graph rather than something flat. But we've got the digital twin here, and I wanted to show you something around that. Let's look at and see if we can ask it for, can you provide me with a supply chain status of each of the parts of the vehicle? And so, again, by pulling in those KPIs from the system of record, we're able to overlay on the digital twin exactly what's going on from the status of the supply chains around this particular product. We'll ask that to leave, and we'll go back to the car. And we can also remove the vehicle for now. And one of the other things that we wanted to show is that this space is very capable and very extendable. We thought that what we'd do is we'd show the art of large language models and processing along with the digital twin. And one of the things for this area is we could bring up, say, some of our maintenance windows, and we're potentially looking at bringing up maintenance of, say, an oil rig. And this particular oil rig is something that's got something of interest. It's been identified by the SAP system that we've got a maintenance task on it, but we don't necessarily know what at this point. I can just bring in the digital twin. One of the benefits of the metaverse world is that we can take this space and we can actually make it anywhere in the world. We can make it any environment. We could even take ourselves and stand ourselves on the oil rig itself if we wanted to start to see where and how the data is relevant to.
Leveraging SAP's production monitoring tools, I noticed that this well was experiencing a decline in production. The equipment may be reaching its capacity limit.
So we've actually also got large language models running in here as part of the AI that's actually listening to me. It's picking up what we're looking at, what we are talking about, and it's actually trying to help. It's both helping through the visual aspect, but it's also able to help with the audio factor. And in this case, you heard it actually respond and tell me why we are looking at this particular oil rig. We can ask it, okay, can you show me the part that we think is having an issue?
It looks like some of the wellhead valves may need replacing. From the SAP maintenance scheduling, some of the pipework on the right side is corroded and damaged and scheduled for repair.
Okay, that's great. Can you actually show me that pipework?
Of course.
So it's able to take me to the part of the rig that's actually relevant to the conversation that it's giving to me. It's able to actually pull the relevant data. It understands what we're talking about, and we're able to kind of start to get some real insight into how the kind of the oil rig is doing. And I think one of the things that this is going to enable us to do is it's to work in a space that's much more immersive with the technology, and it's something that's much more dynamic for us to be able to leverage. And I think the one thing that we thought would be quite interesting to show is that this technology is actually able to listen and understand and also start to learn about what's going on. And one of the things to show the true capabilities of this is that we can actually ask it to learn my voice. You've been listening to my voice for about 20 minutes, half an hour or so. So is the AI. We should be able to get it to recognize and actually start to try and impersonate me.
One moment while I learn your voice.
So it's actually detected that I've asked it to do so. And it's actually now learned my voice and is ready to talk back. So we can ask it to conclude what are the next actions for this particular oil rig.
I could use SAP's SCM to order the replacement part, factoring lead time, before scheduling the wellhead repairs and adding them into the maintenance schedule. As you can see, we can use natural language recognition and large language models to talk and interface into the core systems of record from the SAP landscape. The possibilities of the technologies and innovating around the edge of SAP really are endless. You may have noticed Will is not talking. Will has never spoken these words. Now I don't need Will on stage, as I can present everything myself.
So I think it's getting a little ahead of itself. If it can, so that it can do everything that I can do so far. But what it's really showing is that the AI is capable of being a very assisted tool as part of our landscape. It's enabling us to work with data sets and the SAP systems using something that's very intuitive and natural. for it. I think we'll take ourselves back to the studio, and I will join Chris back in the real world. Thank you. So I think kind of concluding what we've shown there is we've shown that we were able to use AI machine learning for a variety of different use cases. It's highly transferable. So a lot of the technologies that you may see come from other sectors, other areas, other processes. And we're seeing that they are going to transform the way that we can operate. The main thing is that you need that clean core underneath to enable you to accelerate, to leverage these new technologies and capabilities.
Great.
And we're really seeing this crossover between the digital and physical worlds. And I know we've all heard a lot about generative AI in the past months. But it really does make a key business difference.
Thank you so much, Will. And just to quickly check, it is the real Will I'm talking to at this point. It's not the AI. So good.
Yes.
And I also promise that it will be the real Will and the real Chris that will try to answer the questions that come up. Personally, I feel maybe a little scared that the little robot on the screen there will do many of us out of a job, but hopefully society will be in a better place. So let us then move forward. I would like to go to the Q&A section. So again, encouraging all of you listening in to log into Slido. Here you have the possibility to ask a question or vote on a question that you find that interesting. We will try to answer all the questions, especially those with the highest number of votes. So a little bit of encouragement here to log in, a few seconds, ask anything at all, and we will attempt to give the answer or our perspective on this. I hope you're all as excited as I am about the possibilities there. So hopefully there's a lot of inquisitive people on the call. Wow, okay. So we have questions already. This is good. Yeah, anonymous, that's perfect also. So I think actually, by all means, we can continue this this process as we go. So I think let's get going on these. Especially ERP systems are often polluted with bad data that goes back decades. Wouldn't you advise to build innovation on a different backbone? Yeah, you've talked about clean core, both of you. So Chris or Will, would you like to give your perspective on this?
Yeah, I don't know, start then. So yeah, I think it's a very good point, and I think core to a lot of the certainly generative AIs and the data models relies on historical data. So I think whilst we are looking, you know, when we're upgrading our ERPs, looking to change the data structure and really, I suppose, make that look more cleaner and make it look more standardized. The historical data, I think, has a lot of value, and especially when you look at training your models around, you know, how do we start to look at insights? How do we start to look at the trends that have impacted a business in the past, and how do we learn from those? So I think it's not necessarily about, you know, archiving all of our historical data and never looking at it. I think there's a lot of value that we should be starting to sort of interrogate and find out how can we inform sort of the next 5-10 years of our businesses.
And the AI is massively helpful in actually depolluting or removing some of that noise inside. And it's always the state of that's how you got to the current position. So as Chris mentioned, it really helps us understand the processes that went into it, how we got to that point, and then ideally leveraging the AI to help clean it.
And the last thing I was just about there is, I think, you know, Will and I come from a sort of design, well, I just come from a design background, and I think one of the fundamental roles of that is to understand, like, what has gone wrong in the past, what are the pain points, and where do we need to learn and adapt. And I think this is where legacy and looking at how we performed really becomes super valuable.
Thank you both for that. Let's move on to the next question. This is a little bit more general. So what should we do to start innovating within our organization right now?
So I think the one thing that I'd probably say is look at kind of almost the pain points that you're trying to achieve, or any kind of time that you've seen something that looks like that could be like help almost. It's usually a good point to start with with those kind of core pain points. We actually use the App House to go through UX journey mapping and user research processes to actually understand where there are difficulties within processes or where there are difficulties within an organization. And then it's kind of tackling those, not being afraid of any of them, but saying, look, okay, what could we leverage to do it? And look at all of the technology stacks. So it's looking at from the core through BTP, through all of the edge technologies, etc. As far as how we could look at it and how we could make a difference for it. And look not just now, but also 6 months, a year down the line for what do you want the process to be and how do we get to it?
Yeah, and I think just to add and build upon that, I think when you are identifying your pain points in the areas where you believe there are opportunities to add more value to your businesses or to the service for your customers, I think don't be afraid to start. I think many organizations get caught up on I need to get my ERPs and my infrastructure sorted before I can do any innovation. But we actually run a service with a lot of our clients here in the UK and across Europe called our Hackathon as a Service, which is very much using a small period of time to really focus in on core problems. And we're talking about the space of 5 days. Really bringing in some expertise in and exploring what is the art of possible and how can we build something rapidly to show value. So you don't need to necessarily have a fully fledged business case to start adopting these sorts of innovations. It's more about how do we explore the art of the possible and then work out how we apply it to our businesses, because each business is going to be unique in our own rights in terms of the challenges we face. That could be data, that could be various different acquisitions over the years that's made it more difficult to sort of adapt to current markets. But yeah, I'd say don't be afraid, and it can be done relatively quickly.
Thank you. So nothing's stopping us. That's really great to hear. I think we have time for one more question, and we will, when we send you material afterwards, we will, if there are any other questions we can answer in that process, we'll also do that. This one is, and thank you, Baran, for also adding your name to it. What time frame would you give a business to move into the world of AI and metaverse? What are the main pain points stopping this tech from being adopted now? I suppose, Will, can you start if you have a perspective on that?
I think, yes, absolutely. So AI and metaverse, the kind of 2 technology streams that we're seeing at the moment. AI, there's been a massive boost since kind of about September last year. You'll have seen it across the beginning of this year with SAP and Microsoft and everyone really pushing it as part of their product set and tooling and the accessibility to the tool. So I think as far as timeframes for AI, I mean, we're talking it's now, it's happening. We'll see it coming in from core platforms and core capabilities across the board, likely over the next 6 to 12 months, where it will be in kind of every big platform, every big play that will be available. And the personalization and the ability to tailor the AI, the speed at which it's coming on is incredible. We are now personalizing models to start handling core process tasks to actually really know a business and actually delivering unique benefits to them rather than using the kind of the public available solutions. As far as metaverse, there is still the metaverse technology set is very effective in certain use cases. It's very immersive for things like 3D concerts and those unique experiences that you may not be able to get. It's also very useful at high-end and kind of the enterprise side, where we're starting to look at digital twins. We're looking at kind of being able to see inside manufacturing plants where you can see all the processes running. The core consumer, there's still a way to go probably with the hardware and accessibility. It's still in the kind of niche gaming side of things for the end consumers. So that's probably a little bit longer for it to run. But the AI is kind of now that it's really having a massive impact.
Great.
Yeah, and I think just to answer on the point around the safety of it, and I think you've probably all heard in the press and in the news at the moment, there's a lot of concerns around how it's going to be regulated, how it's going to be used, and I think that's very much talking about some of the tech players that we were just talking about, right? Obviously, OpenAI being one of the biggest ones. Google are trying to catch up at the moment and are embedding that in all their products. But I think it's also around, exploring within your organizations, how can you create your own, I suppose, ChatGPT equivalents, right? That is in-house. So it's interesting. We're on that move to the cloud, right? And we were always on-prem, trying to move to the cloud to be agile, nimble. And actually, what I was saying, maybe we need to go back to something a bit more on-prem for AI, so that we have full control that's within our organizations. So it's something to explore. It doesn't have to be publicly. We shouldn't be sharing our internal IP to a cloud environment. We should be thinking about how do we build them in-house and create our own models to run in our own data centers.
Thank you both, and I hear the time is now. And I think the time is now, and we're about to wrap up this grab and go. So maybe just for the audience again, thank you for staying with us. And we have a lot of really great material for you. The App House links here, you can click in and see what other demos and use cases we have there. Also who to contact if you'd like to visit the App House. Maybe we can bring it to you in the metaverse, I don't know. The tech trends that we have and the surveys that we've shown you. And again, just some articles and sources of information for yourselves. I would really appreciate that if you are interested in this topic, that you reach out to us. We have a QR code. You'll get it in the material afterwards. You're more than welcome to reach out to myself, Will and Chris. And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Chris and Will for getting up early and joining us from London, from the App House, and really entertaining us with the art of the possible. So thank you all, and this is indeed the last grab and go that we have in this series. So I'd like to thank you all for joining this grab and go and also the series of grab and goes. And look forward to seeing you next year in a different guise. So take care, everybody, and have a great day.